it's your girl, Deshonda Carter, but you can call me DC. Thanks so much for tuning in today to my show, When the Blue Comes Off. Sit back, relax, take notes, do what you like, and let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my special guest, retired New York City Department of Correction Captain Abdul Malik. Did I say it right?
You sure did. And I am so excited to be here with you. It's Abdul Malik.
Wow.
I miss you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being a guest, and I definitely miss you. And before we even get into it, everybody knows most of the people that I've interviewed have some type of special connection to me. And for those of you that don't know, prior to this now retiree, I met her actually on her OJT when she first came into this department, and she has done such great things, and we're going to hear all about them today. So take it away, Captain Malik.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I think you were probably one of the people that I first met in the department. Oh my goodness. To see a young, vibrant, beautiful Black woman actually doing this job gave me the confidence that I needed in order to move forward, because I really was unsure about what I was doing in the Department of Correction. But I don't know why I keep associating you with the visit area.
Yes.
I don't know
if because that's where you did your OJT. You were the magnometer. I was the magnometer officer, and you were paired with me on your OJT in that area. That is absolutely in OBCC. That was the first time that we actually met. So now that you've retired, how long did you actually do in corrections? Did you do your 20 and out, or did you do more?
I did my 20 and out, maybe a couple of months extra, but I did retire with a service retirement. So I'm so grateful to complete that 20. It felt good to finish. To do something from start to finish is a beautiful thing.
Isn't
I'm happy about that.
Isn't it? And you did a remarkable job in your career. Like, even though you did your OJT with me and I was there prior to your arrival, I would say, you did a great service to the department, and we're going to get into that later. But after you came out of the academy, what was your first command? Do you remember?
My first command was OBCC, CPSU.
All right.
OBCC has been my home, where I grew up as a young lady. So many ups and downs, but OBCC was it for me. And believe it or not, my only other command was the Correction Academy.
We're not going to get to that part yet. We're not going to give them that yet. We're not going to give them that yet. So while you were in OBCC, and, we know that you spent time in the Central Punitive Segregation Unit, and that was your earlier years, just like myself. That was my first command upon coming into the department. And how did you feel as a Black woman, young, coming into that environment? Like, how did that impact you?
Wow. That's a powerful question, because for the first 2 years of my probation, because at that time we had a 2-year probationary period, I really wanted to quit every day.
No, really?
My career. I'll never forget it. Me and Officer Pugh would sit and contemplate, what are we doing here? Are we staying? And then we would lift each other up and say, okay, we're gonna keep moving forward. And then the department would have, just great people around us, where we would, have cookouts, have the basketball games. And then, of course, I had, Mecca, the members of Mecca. We had the Salah time. So, the first 2 years of my career, I really wanted to leave. But there was just something in me, like, don't quit. Why would you quit? And I think it was also officers in my ear, too. Like, why would you quit?
Right.
It's going to be all right. And we would come to work. There was no banging in for those first 2 years. I didn't know what a banging was. We had to come to work.
Right.
So, working in CPSU was not an easy task. I remember, staff members telling me, they once I started to wear hijab, because when I came in, I wasn't wearing hijab, which is the covering of the head that Muslim women traditionally wear. once I started wearing it, the inmates would treat me a lot different in CPSU. If they knew I was coming, they wouldn't,
right.
show their body parts or, just be vulgar with me. So, those things was hard to get around initially. It was very tough for me to have people exposing themselves and, just a loud environment in itself.
Right.
Physically, I was in the best shape of my life. So,
oh, we know.
If they needed us to do anything, that I was always a physical type person. So, working in CPSU was amazing. If I didn't know something, we always had big brothers and sisters there that I can go to and ask, and didn't feel shy about it. They didn't make fun of us. Like, you senior staff was like everything to us. It didn't matter if the senior staff had 1 year or 2 years over us. We just respect what we learned in the academy, and that is people with time need to be respected. Right. So whether they have 1 year, 2 years, we knew that they had more information than what we had. So I always was very respectful of the senior staff.
So do you think, now you've mentioned by you being a Muslim female in the workplace, that inmates treated you with a little bit more respect, you would say? Do you think you got the same type of respect from staff? Did they think, oh, well, because she's Muslim, they're giving her preferential treatment? Did you ever feel that way, that that's the vibe that was given to you at some point?
So, this is, again, an interesting question because everybody's experience is different. Mm-hmm. But I've never felt like I was treated differently, like snubbed, if you will, by other staff members. No, I always felt a part of the family. I never felt like I was being left out of something. If something wasn't right, they just wouldn't do it around me, right? But no, I don't feel like I was given preferential treatment. In fact, we had that table in the KK where if you were rookie, you wasn't sitting there. It didn't matter. Right. So I couldn't sit there just because I was Muslim. No, I had to go where we needed to go. No, but it was just a family. I just felt like, everybody was necessary. Everybody came with their own type of flavor. And this is what I really loved about my time at OBCC. I just felt like everybody was necessary. From the 4'11" little sisters,
mm-hmm.
We had...
what was her name? Officer Saab. She was, I think, one of the shorter females. Officer Saab.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Saab was one of the shorter females. Then you had little Ortiz. I looked at these little ladies doing a magnificent job and commanding their respect. And even Captain Surratt. Oh, right. My goodness. She was small in stature, but that lady just commanded a room. And I just learned a lot about personal power, right, just by observing everything and everybody. And in corrections, I learned so much about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, and I think a lot of that came from my academy training. We had some great instructors who taught us some great tools that I was able to carry over into the facility that helped me become that much more, in tune with what I was doing as an officer, and then of course the corrections staff. I can go on and on for days. They really, really, if they saw something that we were doing incorrect, then we got that good old, correction.
Right. You was now corrected. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We had Captain Bennett.
God bless.
Yes,
because she had, and that was my sister in Mary Kay, and I definitely learned a lot from her as well.
Yes.
But
she was
really go ahead.
One of my mentors. Loved her so much. Yes.
Right.
And so many really aided me in becoming the woman that I am. Sister Leslie Hills, I have to mention her. You know, she just really helped me because I was small. You remember when I came in?
Well, listen, nobody was smaller than me because when I came into the department, I was like 110 pounds soaking wet, okay? And I was in that CPSU area, and I'll never forget the first time that I had to work overnight. It was so stressful. I remember the first time I heard that door close, and I was in that big old housing area with 50 men all screaming all night. I left that SPA in that house I said, listen, I got to get out of here. And I let the SPA kind of hold it down until about 5 o'clock when another officer came. I will never, ever, ever forget that. But I would say, and I think, like you said, everybody's experience is different. But I don't know about you, but for me, having OBCC as my first jail, the camaraderie was so wonderful in the beginning for me. And just the vibe there. I mean, everybody was on point when it came to everything. So I was very grateful having that to be my first command. How do you feel? And I know you've been, the reason why I'm asking you this, because it's going to feng shui into your career later, but because I know you passed through several other jails in a teaching capacity, but would you say that being your first command and working in it and visiting the other commands, are you happy that that was your first place of employment throughout the department?
Oh, I am so elated that OBCC was my first place. And the reason being is because structure, right? It wasn't just the people, but it was also the physical layout of the plant that made a difference for me, right? I realized that, you know, OBCC had structure in how we did our searches, how big the building was. It's not a very large building compared to some of the other commands. It might be one of the, buildings that is more up to date, if you will. So the cleanliness, that building used to be spick and span. I'm telling you, we was winning. We was winning.
Yes, ma'am.
We were winning. And so it didn't feel like a nasty, dirty place to come to.
Right.
You know, it's just that you had to deal with, some of the horrors of the day, if you will, with the screaming and yelling and whatever, the day can bring.
Right.
But I'm so happy that OBCC was my first command because I wound up even coming back as a supervisor. I didn't want to go nowhere else. And some people say that's not good. Some people say, you should go other places. However, I just felt that I wanted to learn my craft as a captain, and I didn't have the time to learn how to be a mother and then learn a new command,
right,
a physical plant. I just wanted to go back to OBCC. And because, the academy was my command prior to being promoted, it was just a good fit for me. And so I went back to OBCC as a supervisor.
Now, do you recall a time where you can say it was a bad memory? Did you?
At OBCC?
Yeah, in terms of a rough day for you, a situation there that, I mean, even though you said in the first 2 years every day you guys were kind of like contemplating, is this the job for me? Do I need to be here? But I mean, for me, like, assault on staff,
right,
things like that. So what in that command during that time, during your being an officer in OBCC, what was the worst thing you experienced?
Okay, that's a great question. So I was still very new in the command. I can't remember if it was my third year. I was working with Officer Flowers in the Bing. I was working with Officer Flowers, great officer. And this is where situational awareness is so important. I didn't really have situational awareness that day. And I didn't know that the officer and the inmate were having some kind of disagreement where the inmate, he went to assault the officer with an unknown liquid substance and it hit me on the left side of my shirt. It hit my shirt. It didn't touch my face. You know, as far as I know, yes. I got assaulted on the left side of my body. And I've never been assaulted like that. And I became so angry. And this is the first time I realized the power that I had, that personal power that I talked about before. I became so angry that other people were watching, right? And so what I didn't know later on is that we had a policy regarding splashing incidents, and that the death at the time was supposed to afford me certain things. And because, you know, we had people who knew policy procedure, they was like, no, sis, you got to turn in your shirt. You got to, you know, go to medical. They were walking me through it because the death at the time, he just wanted to give the inmate extra chicken.
Oh.
He just wanted to give him extra chicken to close up the slot.
Right.
And that wasn't happening. So, you know, I was just grateful that that didn't happen that night, that way. The inmate refused the search. So we went through the proper channels to make sure that he, you know,
complied.
We retrieved the items. He had to comply with the search, or, you know, get extracted, things of that nature. So I wasn't there for the aftermath, but the inmate never did that again. And after that, I didn't realize that the Muslim inmates were affected by me being so angry. Mm-hmm. So I had to go back there and work. And, you know, I don't hold grudges. Next day, day after, you know, we would come back to work.
Right.
we get hurt, we would come back to work.
Right.
So I was working in the same housing area, and I didn't realize it was the same inmate. The inmate was calling me over. Excuse me, sister, can I talk to you for a minute? And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Give me a minute. Sit down there, and it's the inmate that assaulted me. And he is apologizing profusely, and he's telling me, listen, I can't get off. I can't go on the chain. And the chain we knew at the time was to go to recreation.
Right.
He's like, why you can't go to recreation? Anybody can go to recreation. He was like, the inmates are going to get me. I didn't mean to assault you. And, you know, and he is really compelled to apologize because they really were going to hurt him on that chain. And I had to, you know, do what we needed to do to get him protection, but let everybody know in the house, listen, I'm okay. So he's okay, you know.
Right.
But we went through the proper channels to make sure that inmate was protected. But I knew then, at that juncture, that I had to control my feelings, my emotions, because it can affect other people.
Right.
And mastery over yourself is a powerful thing.
Isn't it, though?
It really is.
It is.
It really is. But I didn't know that then until that particular incident. So I'm grateful for all of that. But that was like one of the worst things that happens to me, being assaulted in that manner. You know, and then I think the only other thing is somebody showing themselves. I really, those things really, really, really was despicable. To be a woman, to have to come to work, we should not have to endure that type of abuse. And, you know, when I needed to, I will write people up and I'll make sure it fits. So that's another thing where my writing skills came into play. Mm-hmm. We knew how to write. Mm-hmm. And if the inmate did something, we would definitely put that pen to paper.
So now, how many years did you do as an officer at OBCC before you got promoted?
Approximately 9.5, 10 years. So I stayed an officer for a good portion of the time.
Yeah, that was like me. I did 10 years as an officer and 10 years as a captain. Yep. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So did you do your whole officer career at OB and then you went to the academy, or because I'm not really sure. So or did you become a captain from the academy and then came back? How did that transition? Where did your promotion take place and things of that nature before you went to go work in the academy?
Yeah. So as an officer, I learned so much in OBCC, CPSU. I actually tried out and became a member of ESU. So I got some additional skill sets in the emergency service unit. I joined in 2004, which was unique, being that I was the first Muslim female to successfully pass Hell Week in hijab, and I was a rookie, right? And so it was very vigorous. It was a lot of hard training, but I was up for the task because my mother always told me, be the best that you can be.
Right.
And then the skills that I obtained, not only at CPSU, but at ESU, it guided me to the academy, because I remember sitting in the academy as a recruit saying, I want to be an academy instructor. That was my goal. When I sat at the academy as a recruit, I wanted to be an academy instructor. So the opportunity came to be that I became an officer at the academy in, I believe it was I want to say December 2005. I went to the academy as an officer. So I was first an academy officer.
Okay. So from OB to academy, right?
OB to the academy as a defensive tactics instructor.
Yes, and you played no games. I had you as an instructor. Go ahead.
And then, so as an instructor, I worked at the academy, and then, when did I become a captain? 7/15/2011.
Okay.
7/15/2011. I took the captain's exam, passed. It was number 7 on the list, and I didn't look back. It was a great decision to make. I was sad to leave the academy, but I knew that I needed to make moves into the captain rank in order to make some, additional impact, if you will, in the department. So I took the rank right after having the baby. It came on the heels of an EEO case that I did later on.
Okay.
But yeah, I took the rank, and I was able to go back to the facility, and OBCC is where I went as a captain.
So now we start off at OB. We transition to ESU, where you train and you learn with the elite, the best of the best, right?
Yes. Really the best of the best.
Absolutely. And especially at that time. I'm telling you, the ESU of the day was phenomenal. I can't speak upon today because I'm no longer there. But that ESU, back then, they were the best of the best. Now, then you go off to the academy with your skill set. Still on call. Were you able to be fill in ESU part-time while you were at the academy, or was that totally done and over with at that time?
So, as an officer, I was still on call.
Okay.
Still on call.
While you were at the academy?
At the academy. When I became a captain, now, you got to remember now, I'm a mom of 2.
Okay.
And I will never forget Captain Rizzo. I love him so much. We were interviewing. Captain Rizzo, he bluntly and plainly stated, if you're not prepared to give your life, I was like, whoa, life?
Right.
But
right.
ESU, then we don't want you here. Right? And that was a true statement. And it was something that I needed to hear, because at that time, I had no children. I was at the best shape of my life, and I was truly prepared to give my life for my fellow staff members and for those in the custody. And that's what ESU was about back then. So we were on call. And if I was at the academy teaching, they would have to find somebody else to do the class. I remember myself and Officer Cook at the time. He was in ESU as well. And we'd get out, and we'd take out tools, equipment, and we'll go to ESU. Yeah.
So now that you're back as a captain and you're back in OBCC, was the experience much different as being in the supervisory role?
So initially I was very nervous because I didn't know how my peers who used to be my peers would receive me. But I've always had a good rapport with most of the staff members. But they welcomed me with open arms. When I say, if I really didn't know something, I was able to learn. Those senior staff members that worked in the control room, they really welcomed me with open arms. And whoever didn't like me, they didn't let me know. But we really, I was always humble. and willing to learn. So if I didn't know something, I wasn't the type to, try to push my weight around. I would learn what I need to learn, master it, and keep moving. And so, that's what I did. Intake was difficult for me. Intake as a supervisor was very difficult for me because the skill set that you needed was really understanding bells. And that's something that I didn't do often when I was an officer because, the men, the A posts, they had that on Smash. And
listen, David and them, they ran that intake. Yeah, they didn't need a captain.
They ain't need no captain. They ain't need nobody. I just knew how to move bodies.
Right.
Abdul Malik, take the body this way.
You was the escort You was the escort captain.
Exactly. But as a captain, I had to learn my craft because we had new officers coming in. We had officers that I had already trained. So what I did was I stepped out of my comfort zone and I contacted people that I knew from other commands. And so then, this is how I learned. I had to go to other commands to just get information from senior captains that I love, respect, and can be myself around, that actually would teach me. And I see this girl right now. I see her face, and I can't even spell out her name. But she was ESU captain as well, and she was working over at AMKC doing security. I can't even remember her name. I'm so sorry. That's one thing. As I'm getting older, I forget names. It's crazy. But I just truly, I'm grateful that those people were around to help me to become the captain that I needed to be. It wasn't an easy transition because for me, I was used to, doing everything, right? As an officer in OBCC, you had to show and prove. You had to know how to do things, and we were self-starters. So I was used to doing everything. But as a captain, I had to learn how to delegate. I had to learn, different skill sets. I had to learn how to do investigations. So that took time.
Right.
It took time for me to learn. But, coming from the academy, you have some people, well, didn't you work at the academy? You should know that. I said, yeah, I was at the academy as an officer. And if I don't know it, I'm going to ask you.
Right.
And so I'm asking you. So do you know it or not? If you don't, then I'll move on to the next. Okay? Thank you. You don't know. Then just say I don't know. Right? And so I would go on to the next person. So, yeah.
So what would you say? What would you say was your preferred rank? And we're just staying in the jail capacity because we're going to touch, we're going to move into the other. But what would you say was your preferred rank? Did you prefer being an officer? Was that you wish you could do that? Or did you enjoy being a captain? If you had to pick your favorite, or was it equally shared and experienced?
I think the equally shared experience was amazing. And to be quite honest, I really wanted to become a DEP. Yeah, I really wanted to be an ABW because I would have been the first Muslim female to be ABW.
Oh, so you was just trying to set bars for the next one. Okay, got you.
Yes, I was trying to set that bar. But I think equally, as an officer, it was amazing. But as a captain, I just felt, I was able to have audience with people that I wouldn't normally have an audience with. And, the white shirt does make a difference in that capacity. But the tremendous responsibility that white shirt brings, I don't think people really know or understand until they're actually in the role. And I really took that post very seriously. So it was rewarding, but very comes with a lot of responsibility. That vicarious liability is real.
It's serious. Very much so.
Ma'am.
Now, how did you tell me a little bit about your experience in the academy as a supervisor.
Experience in the academy as a supervisor was a little tough for me, right? Because I had to get out of the officer mode, right? And the officers really run the show, or should be running the show at the academy in regards to the recruits, right? Because the officers are the first line supervisor of the recruits. We didn't want to overexpose them to white shirts, right? Because we wanted them to get used to standing up, saluting when they see a white shirt. And so it becomes a little bit awkward when the white shirt comes in the room all the time, right? So, yeah, I love that phase of working at the academy as an officer. I had to learn that, trust my staff, you know, have conversations with them, learn who they are, to ensure that we're giving them the best training possible. And, you know, during the START training, I had some of the best staff members where I didn't have to micromanage, and they understood what I needed, and I was able to rely on the staff. So, yeah, learning how to delegate and letting the staff do their job was something that I had to learn as a supervisor.
Now, being a woman, a mother, a wife, a captain, how did this impact your personal life in your home with your children? Was there ever a time that you thought to yourself, outside of the 2 years during the probationary period, that you thought, you know, this wasn't for you? Now you're in it, you have a family. Was there ever a time afterward that it caused you to second guess yourself with the relationship with your children, or, you know, being an ESU, being a supervisor, when things happen, you know, you miss some events, you miss some occasions that you wish you could have been, you know what I mean? And I don't know if this really applies, because I know the Muslim faith doesn't celebrate a lot of the things that, you know, the common Western civilization does, but was there ever a time that you just was like, this is interfering with my children, she's not doing well in school, or he's not doing well in school, and I need to be home, I want to cook?
Right. So, you know, captainhood took a very big toll on my family, because my husband had to step up in a way that he wasn't used to doing, cooking more, right? Doing more of the household duties that I would have been doing. So that did create a strain in the household. The kids were missing me. And remember, I was also a nursing mother. So It was physically difficult for me to do while trying to learn my job. And so, you know, counseling becomes important, right? And so this is why, you know, prayer, counseling, and just having family understand what I do and how much it's impacting is something that we didn't experience previously when I was an officer. So yeah, it was very difficult transition. And then not working at the academy, right? So you had a set schedule, if you will. So now there's no set schedule. You're back on the wheel. And what does that mean? So my husband didn't really experience me being on the wheel, right? So we had to figure a lot of things out. And I'm just so grateful he was patient with me through that whole process and supportive. You know, we're not supposed to do this, but a lot of times I would be stumped with paperwork, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't make sense. And, you know, he's like, look, I'm going to take the kids, and I just need for you to focus on that paperwork so that way we can move forward.
Right.
And he would do that for me because, you know, I would really have to ensure that I was doing justice to these, you know, whatever it was, whatever type of paperwork that I was doing. I wanted to always be fair to both staff and inmates, and it was just a difficult time just trying to learn how to do investigations for me. But yeah, that time period was difficult. I think I lost the most weight on this job during that time period. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, what is happening to me right now? I really was not eating well. I was not sleeping well. I think one time I stayed in the jail for like 3 days. And finally, the warden, she was like, Abdul Malik, enough. Go home. I had enough.
Right. And what
I
people
appreciate her for that.
People don't understand, you know, when they see the persona of a correction officer, a correction captain, or any type of correctional staff, right? And especially if they're a woman, they don't realize what we endure, right? Because first priority is your children, your family, your husband, your spouse, right? So now when you're feeling the pressures at home, you're in a hostile work environment, you're on edge all the time because the alarm is going off, or, you have to be focused because your life depends upon it. And the people that you work with, their lives are dependent on you being okay 100%. And to come home and you have to be mom, and you have to be wife, and you have to be daughter, and you have to be so many hats. Like I always say in some of the other interviews, the mental health doesn't seem to be addressed in us.
Right.
And a lot of times people will turn to substance abuse.
Correct.
Right? And I understand now, and I think you might have been a part, they have a wellness center. I don't know if it's still active. I will definitely have to do some research about it. But one of the best things that they could have ever done is create the wellness center. But I also think that over a period of time, staff needs to be reevaluated.
Yes.
Because things happen during the course of their tenure at work that we may not be privy to. Right? And they're still coming to work. They're wearing the face because, that's the mask, they're doing the job, but we don't know what's going on. And we're putting our lives in their hands, and they're really not ready for the day.
So, this topic right here is so important, and I'm glad you're touching on it. And this is why Muslims employed in City Corrections Association was so necessary for me to be a part of, because that core fiber, just being around Imam Umar, Father Lucas, we had the rabbis, everybody that was there at OBCC really gave us a core nucleus of love and support spiritually. I needed that. There was no way I would have been able to do the job that I did without having that spiritual connection to Mecca and the masjid. I had to stay grounded there because that's who I called on first. I called on the Lord because I cannot control everything, right? So I really felt there was some things that I can do, and whatever I had in the capacity to do, I would do it. And then when I had to pray and give it to the Lord, then I would do that as well. And if I needed to talk to the Imam or Sister Aisha Muhammad, or the senior females in our community that have, been through some things, I would talk with them. But I had that outlet, and that helped me to stay healthy mentally.
Right.
It helped me to stay healthy physically, because without that communication, it would have been very difficult. So then we flip it, right? Now I'm a supervisor, and I'm confident in who I am, how I deal with my pressures, what is a stressor, just kind of breaking things into segments, and then really having the tools that I need to deal through it. That helped me. But then now you have staff who will come to you. You're scared on them. I remember one day this officer, I said, bro, you don't look right. What's going on? And I tell you, no lie, right there on post, the inmates are locked in, it's a midnight. And he's just going on about how his wife left him. She don't think that he's working. He is, a family man who just lost his whole family. And I really was not prepared for that conversation.
Right.
But the best thing I can do for him at that point was to listen and then to provide information for him. Right. So as a supervisor, we have tools that we can recommend for the staff and really try to get them the help that they need. And we were able to give him the help that he needed. But he was willing to talk. Why? Because he saw how I moved in the housing area. And when I really care about the staff. I really care about them. I think it comes across genuine because it is.
Right.
And I really want to know how they're doing, because I think we all have been through a time period in our life that was difficult on the job, whether it be relationships or whatever it may be. And we all needed help at some point. So I never was the type of person to leave anybody behind. And you can kind of see it on people if you've been there yourself. Right. And so I was able to help him. But there's been tons, and when I tell you tons of staff members who had some serious issues, whether it be, with their significant other or loss of a child.
Girl, we could do a whole show.
Yeah,
just on that. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about MECA, which is the Muslims employed in the City Correction Association. Yes? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
So everybody, don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. So we're going to come right back. Oh, excuse me. I had to almost choked just now. We're going to come right back with my favorite captain, newly retired, New York City Department of Correction, Captain Abdul Malik. So stick around and don't go nowhere. You don't go nowhere either, Malik. Welcome back. We're here to finish it up and wrap it up with our good old Captain Abdul Malik. And she's now going to talk to us about her affiliation with one of the fraternal organizations in the New York City Department of Correction, which is called MECA. So, Malik, tell us about this organization.
Awesome. So Muslims Employed in City Corrections Association actually came after our first fraternal organization. The first one was called the Islamic Community of Law Enforcement Officers. It started out in 1975 on Rikers Island. Yes, okay. A lot of people know Dr. Ali Rahman. A lot of people know him. He was one of the founding members of the first Islamic community. But it started off with a brother. He was the president. His name is Hassan Abdul Rahim. He passed away, Rahimullah. But these people were my role models. I love them dearly. Four brothers started it. And because of their hard work, right, in 1975, the department was going through a lot of turmoil in terms of inmates suing the department. And they had a fast-growing Muslim inmate population. And so what the Islamic Community of Law Enforcement Officers did was provide information about Islam to the department, where we have the halal food programs. We have, even imams was hired under this policy, right? We have Ramadan services. All those things came because the officers at that time organized, let the department know, this is who we are. We have to pray. We have to do certain things that we're mandated to do as a Muslim, and it was necessary for the organization to come about. Later on, so we started in 1975. In the 90s, we had a lot more women on the job, early 80s into the early 90s. So then you had Desert Storm, right? So now we're talking about we're in a war, and Muslim women were participating in the war, and when they were coming back, they were wearing their hijab and their BDUs. So now at that time, we were a paramilitary organization. I'm talking about the New York City Department of Correction. So if they are wearing hijab in their uniform, why is it that we can't wear hijab in our uniform? So they did the sisters and Sister Aisha Muhammad, they used her as a model to show how, they used her as a model to show how the hijab can be worn. And I'll never forget it. Brother Captain Sharif, who was an ESU member, he was very instrumental in getting that policy put into place in our directive. We are the first municipal policing unit to have the hijab in uniform, in writing. That was unheard of. So MECA's been around. We revised our name in 2006. And the reason why we did that was to be able to afford our programs and services, not only to Muslim officers, but also to non-Muslim officers, chaplains, and other DOC staff. So we revised our name, we revised our mission, because we had so many things that we did prior to. So I'm just so proud to be a part of it.
And
right?
what was initially you were sitting on the council, right? You held the council chair at one point, correct?
So I was just the baby in the group initially, right? And so the way Islam works is that you always uplift the youth so that they will be able to move, history along, right? And so me being the baby in the group, they basically groomed me to be able to not only know about Islam, right? To be the living representation that somebody could see and say, okay, first of all, that's a Muslim. That's not only a Muslim, that's a practitioner of Islam, because there's a difference. Everybody can be a Muslim,
right.
But a practitioner of Islam is somebody who is really striving to please Allah and follow the tenets, right? And so, and telling the truth, whether it's against your own self, right? And so, and we, I think, again, so the breastfeeding rooms, right? Under Mecca, I was the council chair for 10 years. For 10 years, I was the council chair. But in 2006, when I came on, I was just the baby in the group. But I wound up becoming the council chair, I think in like 2010. Yeah, 2010, I became the council chair. And during that time, we were able to get the nursing stations in all of the facilities under our beloved Chief Larry Davis, Senior, who just passed away.
Right.
Love him so much. I pray for him and his family. But he was so kind to me, right? I had to put in the EEO, and as it went through the chain, he took care of everything. I can't even tell you how that it was very stressful for me to come back after having a child and then not having a place to pump. So we were able to get the nursing stations in all of the facilities under his watch, and I'm very grateful to him to this day. But that is Mecca working in conjunction with administration. There has to be a line of communication. And I just felt that, a lot of these issues that we have sometimes, if we're able to just handle it on a command level, great. If not, if we have to go out, then there is a chain that we, communication that needs to be had, whether it's in writing or, a written agreement, whatever it is. Mecca is always there to help the staff with any grievances, whether they're Muslim or not. So I have a lot of people calling me now. And I really feel for them, and whatever information we can provide, we do. We give out scholarships. We're trying to help people, the homeless. Coming up shortly, I want to be doing something with CPR first aid, because I am qualified to teach that. But we also want to do fire safety, especially after, we lost so many people in the Bronx.
Right.
So we want to do fire safety. So Mecca is a nonprofit fraternal organization, but it is recognized by the department as a operational fraternal organization within the department as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have had, like myself, I could say, I know I had a great career, and it sounds as if you had a wonderful career. What would you tell a young woman who came to you, she saw you, she said, Sister Malik, I'm getting ready to go into the next correction class. What advice would you give that young lady?
So the first advice I would say is, what is your reason? Right? That's the question I would ask first. Well, what is your reason for wanting to join the Department of Correction? Because for me, it wasn't just money. It was bigger for me, right? I come from Coney Island, Brooklyn, and I saw a lot of my own family members and also people in my community that matriculated in and out of the facility. Mm-hmm. And, I wanted to be able to make a difference on the inside. So that always was a thing in the back of my head. That calling to help people was always there for me. And then the money was also very great for me, being a young woman coming in. So the financial, right? I wanted to have financial stability in the future where I can depend on my own merit, I didn't want to depend on anybody else. So what is your reason for coming is one of those questions I would ask. And then based on that, I would tell them, you're going to have a strong support group. Like we said, it's spiritual, emotional, and physical. You're going to have the ability to work out, eating properly, right? These are some of the advices I would give to people because we do long hours.
Mm-hmm.
Shonda, we do long hours. We don't even get the proper water intake sometimes,
right?
And so you have to see if your body can physically endure that, because over time it takes a toll. So if you're not prepared to do that right now,
mm-hmm.
Then it might not be a good fit. But I personally believe that if a young woman is coming on a job, they better be nice with their hands.
Say it again.
You better be nice with your hands, because this I've never seen anything the way it is now. I suffered a major incident where I got really injured,
mm-hmm.
and you have to, but because I was still physically in shape, I'm walking, but I have a limp now.
Right.
So you have to weigh the pros and cons, and if you have a skill set that can lead you elsewhere, great. If you want to come to DLC, just be prepared physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because it is a challenging job, but a great job. I came in on the best time. I think we got in at the best time.
I agree. I right? Totally agree. But here's the last question before I let you go. Last question before I let you go. If you had to do it all again, after you received that letter in the mail that told you that you were going to be in the next class, would you do it?
Yes. There's no way I see me without correction. It's that's strange as can be. And the reason being is because I took my Shahada while I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do it all over again, just to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Abdul Rasulullah. Meaning, I bear witness that there's only one God, and the Prophet Muhammad is his last and final messenger. I would do it all over again. I learned that.
Well, I want to thank you, my sister, for coming on the show and being a part of this special month, because this show is airing during Women's Month, and March is Women's Month, and you are a phenomenal woman. And I want to just say that from the very, very beginning when I met you, you have not changed. Your spirit has always been one of being real. There was nothing ever phony and fake about you, and you've always been a genuine woman. So again, thank you for taking the time to speak with not only me, but all of those that are listening to you. And hopefully your words and your message has touched someone, whether it's for them to come into the department, whether it's for them to gain some mental clarity in relationships prior to coming onto the department. But no matter what it is, we want to thank you for sharing your experiences. And if anyone who did not know about Mecca, where can they find information on the organization?
Yes, great. So they can visit www.mecca, that's MECCA, NYCD.org. They can visit our website and even contact us at info@meccanycd.org. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week on When the Blue Comes Off. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I look forward to bringing you many, many more, all with positive vibes. Stay safe and see you next time.